So in this episode, we're going to look at exercise number 4.3 in that's exercise book 4. So we have here a basic cube, and you can see that it's made of these pieces, again, which fit together. Now, when you see these pieces fitting together, obviously it means that you need to use components. And there's a little bit of a mystery to solve here to start with, and the first thing you have to do is work out what the thickness of the pieces is. Okay, you have here all the information that you need, but it's not given expressly as being a specific thickness. So by looking at the sizes of the parts and knowing how big the overall shape is when they're assembled, you can work out how thick the parts are. Now I'll leave you to do that and move on to the actual way to do it in SketchUp. Now, the mistake many students make is that they just make the parts and then try to fit them together. It's actually always better in SketchUp if you want to make something that's accurate and you know fits together, is to actually use the part you made before in order to make the next part. And when I get to doing this, you'll see exactly what I mean. So let's move over to SketchUp. You can see this cube is made of a number of squares, 800 by 800. 640 by 640, and then 800 by 640. So let's get that done. Right, so we need to start off with our first square, and that's 800 by 800. That's the base of this square, and of this cube, should I say. And that's then going to be that shape. I've made it accurately by typing my dimensions. And my thickness, and I'm going to start off by making that into a component straight away. Now what that allows me to do, it allows me to build something directly on it and without that thing sticking to it. So what I mean by that is this. I'm going to go back, and this time now I'm going to draw part 3. Now you can see part 3 is here, and it connects at this point. So I know that one side of it is 800 long, and the sides of this square are 800 long, so I can use that to guide me when I'm drawing. So start at this corner, move to that line, and then you can see down the bottom I've got my dimensions. One is 800, and I know that the other one needs to be 80. And now I have this square. It's drawn on the component, but it's not part of the component, so it is still a separate entity. Go back, and I know that my height needs to be 640. And triple click, make that into a component. And now I'm going to use a trick that we know already, and that is to move something and make a copy of it at the same time. And I want another copy of this over here in exactly this position, and I know where it needs to go. And the point I'm going to snap on is I'm going to move this and going to make it snap to here. So hit the Option key on my keyboard with my move tool, and that gives me my plus sign on my cursor, and then I can drag across over here until that snaps onto there. That is 2 sides of my box already made. Now, if I go back to my sketch, I can now draw part 2 because I have part 2 is this one. I can now draw part 2 because I have a way of drawing that without even typing dimensions. So let's go back, and if I take my rectangle tool and draw a square from this point here across to this point here, it snaps, and I know for sure that that's the correct dimensions because all the parts that I'm using as a reference are in the correct dimensions. So I know my thickness, and I'm going to now click and make that into a component again. And now I don't need to do any more drawing because I have all the parts that I need. I can take the part that I literally just made. It's already selected, so I'll just take my move tool, hit the Option key, You see my plus sign appears, and I'm going to now make a copy, drag it across, snap it onto that point there. And my final piece is taking a copy of the bottom, doing the same thing with the Option key, making a copy and snapping it onto there. And that is the easiest way to draw this challenge.